Welcome to episode number, I think we're at episode number 77 of Business Unusual Prospecting Through Uncertainty. And today our topic is Referral Masterclass. And my name is bfilbert. And my favorite thing to do all day, every day, is work with people that maybe sales wasn't always your favorite thing, or it may be something that you never quite thought you would be in a sales role, and then here you are today. Or maybe you do enjoy sales, but you've recognized that there are aspects of it that take a little bit more time than perhaps you really want to spend. So today what we're going to be talking about is how you can be as productive as possible with your time and with your relationships in order to gain referrals and introductions to amazing prospects. And that is our area of focus today. Now, with that, we have specifically, when I was putting this information together, I had a few people in the back of my mind that I felt we could deliver the most value to. So if you are a knowledge worker, so in other words, if you are selling your ideas or your knowledge or your approach or a process that you've created as your product, that's who I designed a lot of our conversation today for. As well as I recognize that there are a lot of independent sales professionals out there that maybe you don't have the opportunity to participate in a regular sales meeting and engage with other people who are on the same journey you are on. And this particular session every month, I am focusing on just helping you be a little bit more inspired and motivated to innovate in your prospecting effort. And then finally, I am looking for the opportunity to engage with business owners that are wanting to just get a lot more effective at that conversion strategy. So when you think about generating leads, they fit into a lot of different buckets in terms of sometimes they're cold leads, sometimes they're warm leads, and sometimes they're hot leads. And of course, the hot are the ones that are going to convert into business much faster and represent a shorter sales cycle. And that will be our area of focus today, is making sure that everything that you're doing is designed to get you to the bank quickly. All right, so that's who I am specifically talking to. Now, what I would love to hear from you all is which one of these sounds the most like you? Which area do you fit into? Are you the knowledge worker that is really wanting to stand out and engage with people that would benefit most? Are you that salesperson that's looking for better ways, particularly with the pandemic's influence on your approach? Or are you really wanting to focus on that those leads that are coming in as business owners and just make sure that you've got the best ROI possible on your marketing effort? All right, so it looks as if most of my folks that I am in here with today are in that knowledge worker space. And of course, wanting to focus on improving conversions, with a few independent salespeople in here as well. All right, well, you are in the right place. We are going to have a lot of fun this morning. We are going to be challenged, hopefully inspired and motivated in order to get out there and really focus on expanding and leveraging the relationships that we have to reach the perfect referral opportunity. Easy for me to say. All right, so my question that I have for you, I want you to think about, what can referrals do for you? If you think about achieving your prospecting goals, one of the very first questions that I am always looking to find out is, do you have an active and productive referral process in place currently? So raise your hand. Let me know if you have a referral system in place right now that's working for you. That's one of the fun things about this particular program, is it's really easy to see who's got their hand raised. Okay, so it looks like I've got a couple that are in here. All right, well, hopefully we'll be able to help you get just a little bit better about what you're currently doing. And I've got a few yeses, but could be better. All right. Well, let me kick things off because what I'd like to do is sometimes it helps if we learn through what others are doing that has led to success for them in their efforts. So I'd love to introduce you to one of my absolute favorite clients. Her name's Kathy Tony. And Kathy has a business called Kent Business Solutions. And she serves manufacturers that have over 100 employees. That is her target audience. And she provides lean consulting, Scrum project management, voice of the customer, various research projects, and project management for companies that are wanting to really incorporate that process improvement into their culture. Well, like a lot of professionals, January 2020 happened and Kathy's pipeline was pretty empty. And what she discovered is that a lot of her people that she had in the pipeline all of a sudden shifted focus from wanting to focus on continued improvement, and they moved into one of two camps. They were either struggling to stay open and stay relevant because they may not have been deemed essential businesses, or they were essential and they had more business than they knew what to do with, and they were struggling to digest all of the opportunities that came in. What Kathy did that was a really cool process, and I want you to pay attention to the steps that she went through here, because these are the first stages that you can start in order to find amazing opportunities. So Kathy surveyed her target audience and discovered what their most pressing challenges were that they were dealing with right now. And then she went to her base of relationships and she looked for people that could be great resources for that manufacturer that would help bridge that gap between where they were and what they were struggling with and being able to focus on process improvement in their business. And then she cultivated referral relationships with them. Well, there were some interesting benefits that she had through this process. Not only did she end up with a full pipeline, many of the opportunities that she is working with are considerably larger than what she had worked with before. She's actually working with, she's got several different projects that are in process of rolling out that involve thousands and tens of thousands of employees across the country. She's also leveraged her referral partner services, and she is reselling services that create residual income with no work on her part once the initial kickoff happens, aside from the project work that comes out of it that she would most like to do. Now, the partner that Kathy leveraged for this was a technology company that creates virtual apps that are specifically around serving companies in managing and navigating through COVID. And with that, it has just created an incredible partnership for Kathy that is actually caused a significant pivot to happen in her business. So with that, we are going to take some of these lessons that Kathy learned and that approach, and we are going to talk about how you can put them to work in your business right now. So let me just first of all ask those of you that are here with me today, how many of you have had challenges in keeping your deal flow moving through the pipeline? Are you having opportunities that are stalling out? Is that a challenge that you're dealing with? Or is it you are looking for more introductions to those ideal prospects so that you don't have to spend a lot of time chasing them? So that's one of two different spots. So let me know in the questions, which one are you in right now? Do you have adequate lead flow coming in? Or are you looking for more leads as well as you're looking for something that can help just kind of speed up or create urgency through this process for your referral, for your opportunities? And my apologies, I have a dog barking in another room and I have no idea what on earth she is all wound up about. So do you ever have that happen? Do you have your coworkers that are rudely interrupting your webinars? Hang on just a second. All right. My apologies for that. And apparently there's somebody at my door, or she thinks somebody should be at my door. Rosie, stop. Apologies. All right. Now let's dive into how Kathy did it. So the first place that we want to start is we want to get crystal clear about the prospect profile that you most want to serve right now and who you can have the most impact with. Then the next stage that we are going to talk about is identifying what potential relationships you need to fill the gap where people just may be stalling out in your pipeline. And at the same time, you'll probably find other relationships that can help you quite a bit with gaining access to their audience as well. Because chances are, if people are getting stuck in your pipeline because of a problem that they have to solve before they're ready for you, then there is a good chance that the partners that you identify will also have relationships that would benefit from knowing you after they have implemented the partners process in their business. So there's a lot of opportunity just in focusing in this one particular area in your prospecting funnel. So the first thing that I want to start with is just a little bit of insight about where you may be getting stuck and where I think we have a tendency to overcomplicate our prospecting. I don't know about you. Do any of you ever feel like you get stuck in analysis paralysis and like you're not quite sure where to start? Yeah, if you want to give me a wave your hand and let me know, yeah, that sounds like me, or no, I'm kind of good, I'm ready to get going. Because unfortunately, it seems like a lot of us end up trying to figure out what to do, and we spend a whole lot of time thinking about what we want to do, and then we do this shotgun effort with our prospecting that goes out to a lot of different people without a structured or really doable process. So the first thing that I want to warn you about or caution you is having too broad of a profile that you're hunting for. And with that, we're actually going to spend a bit of time on that in our next slide to help you drill down into just how narrow should you be. They also have a tendency to expect a lot out of a potential referral partner or a coffee meeting. They look for that coffee meeting to immediately result in business without actually laying a foundation for a relationship. So they don't really make that emotional equity investment. And consequently, people just aren't as motivated to follow up and follow through. And then the other area that people have a tendency to make a big mistake is they don't acknowledge the effort of a new relationship and recognize that when we start with partnerships, there is always a growing or evolution that has to take place within that relationship as people gain comfort with you, and they also begin to trust what it is that you are able to do for your clients, and know that if they make an introduction for you, that everyone is going to win through that effort. So these are just a few of the mistakes that I see professionals making, and I'm going to help you with overcoming some of these, keeping them from happening in your prospecting effort. And then also I'm going to help you with alternative approaches that'll get you where you want to go. First of all, how specific should you be? Now, the common thought with generating referrals, and I hear this all the time, is I want to make it so easy for somebody to look in their contact base and introduce me to anyone, because truly I can help just about anybody. I can help a broad range of business owner or professional or individuals. So the challenge that we have, and I heard this at once delivered in a networking commercial, and it was somebody that was actually, I don't even remember which cosmetics company they were with, but she described, she said, I can help anyone that has skin and hair. And the problem when you get so broad is that makes it too much work for somebody to have to think through who they know, think about whether or not they would be a good contact for you, and also be sure that they're not going to waste the time of the person that they introduce you to. Because influence is something that we all work very hard to cultivate. And it doesn't take very long for you to squander that influence by making a bad introduction. And we certainly don't want to do that. And yes, skin and hair. Okay, George, thank you. So then there's some of us that may be blessed in this area, and my husband talks about the fact that he is follicularly challenged by anyway. So we do want to make sure that the descriptors that we use for our perfect prospect are as specific as possible. And when I talk about specific, one of the tips that I have for you is, rather than talking about your prospect profile as I serve business owners or I work with companies and define a number of employees or an industry niche, I would actually encourage you to get very specific about the leader that you most want to talk to within an organization and what is happening in their life or in their business that opens the door for you to be able to add value to that relationship. That is how specific I want you to get with your referral prospecting. So now with that, what I'd like for you to do is do me a favor and chat in with who your very specific prospect is that you most want to engage with. And trust me, there will be reasons why you want to share this a little bit later on. So, but go ahead, take a minute, chat in, or use the questions pane to provide for me your perfect prospect profile. Give me a description. I'd like to know what the leader looks like in terms of if there's a demographic data around it, as in age or a particular role or a life event or a trigger event that's happening in their business or within their personal life right now that opens the door for you. And if it's a person that you serve, an individual, if you're B2C, same thing. I want you to give me an idea of where they are at and what they are focused on in their life and in their business. So do me a favor, chat that in with the questions right now. All right. Now, as you're doing that, I want you to think about that perfect prospect. And I want you to think about what is keeping you from serving that prospect right now. Are they having challenges right now in their life and in their business that are keeping them from moving forward with you? So think about that. What is stopping your sale? And then I want you to think about who might offer a solution that would overcome that obstacle. Because the interesting thing about sales, it is always easier to sell someone else than it is our own services. It's the other messenger. If we sell our own services, then we end up bragging about what it is that we do, or at least it sounds like bragging. And it's hard to be self-promotional. So what I'd like for you to think about are, what are some of those solutions that maybe you can bring in as a gateway? So for example, Kathy's solution, when I kicked this off at the very beginning, we talked about how, or I shared with you how her deals were stalling out because they had too many challenges coming at them. And the biggest challenge that they were dealing with was trying to figure out how to navigate through incorporating a partial remote workforce and figuring out exactly what that remote workforce was doing, where they needed help, where they were performing and where they weren't performing. So she specifically identified a technology solution provider that was able to design apps that worked to provide scorecards and dashboards on individual employee performance and help create that just red, yellow, green or green, yellow, red of everybody's doing great, all systems are go, or, this department's having a few challenges here you might want to investigate, or full stop, there's a pretty significant problem here. And that was the technology solution that she partnered with. Now, the interesting thing that she did when she began offering this is it did expand her product offering, because right now, or at least at the time when she was really looking around at this, many of those manufacturers weren't really focusing on lean initiatives or scrum projects, it's a project management and new product development approach. And what she recognized is that if she was going to keep money coming in, she needed to make sure that she had something to sell that was highly relevant. And that's something else that I think the pandemic has taught us about referral prospecting is we need to diversify our revenue streams, and referral relationships can offer an amazing opportunity to do that. And then the other question is, if you lose a deal to a competitor, why did you lose it? What was it that that competitor had that you did not? Or what problem did they perceive the competitor had a solution for? One of the things that I want to tell you is your best source of process improvement right now in your prospecting effort is in the business that you're not winning. And it's interesting because every prospect has a lesson to teach us. And in referral partnering, if you identify those deals that you did not win, and you really start to do that postmortem on what happened to kill the deal, that's where you discover some of this fantastic insight that can be so helpful for you in determining what your next steps need to look like and what that strategy should be. So let me ask you, are y'all with me so far? Have you done a postmortem on your opportunities to really understand what is missing and what you need to offer now that is relevant to your target audience? Can you do me a favor and just chat in with the comments? And if you're listening to the recording, that's what I'd like for you to also use the comments underneath the recording and just let me know where you're at right now. Are you leveraging this data? Are you leveraging this insight? And what are you discovering about your current funnel? And where do you need help? We've got some really good information coming in. Okay, so what I am hearing is sometimes there's not enough people that are willing to be transparent and vulnerable. That's a really, really good point. And not everybody is willing to look in the mirror and recognize what their greatest challenges are. Timing, yes, that's a really good point. So Brenda's got a super good point about how sometimes it's just not good timing for somebody to work with you. And that's wonderful. And this is where I would suggest that you identify where and how you can build value by introducing another resource that would be upstream from you, so that that funnel and that follow-up is managed by other people and not you. And here's why. Remember that other messenger. When you sell someone else, it's easy for you to make that connection and be helpful. And people really appreciate that. So when you identify, also the other thing that you can learn through this exercise is if you have lost, I would say, 2 or more deals within a 30-day time period, and potentially in a 90-day time period, depending on what your prospect flow is, then that is an area that you would want to look to first to identify referral partnerships to help you with keeping things moving. And then, okay, so really good point. There's a lot of things that are shifting right now in how decisions used to be made about spending budget. on things such as marketing and growth and innovation strategies. And almost it becomes you need to have something that is so overwhelmingly impactful to that prospect that they have no option but to say, I got to do this. And sometimes it may be identifying who you can team up with that could create such an incredibly impactful offer that your prospects are saying, there is no way I can turn this down. So let me go back to Kathy as an example for you. So Kathy's app now actually serves employers with tracking who out of their employee base has had the vaccination and for COVID, and to be able to track and monitor where they need to have testing done and where they have outbreaks for contact tracing. And that is, as you can imagine, this app was a joint effort that was from Kathy brainstorming and the technology provider creating something that was just incredibly impactful for this. So with that, that's something else that you want to think about as it relates to referral relationships, because sometimes you can team up and accomplish some pretty amazing things. All right, now let's talk about where we're actually going to begin with this effort. And with that, I actually want to help you recognize some of the gaps that may exist in your current process that you may want to pay close attention to as you are embarking on this new course in creating referral prospects or referral partnerships. So the first biggest challenge that you will face in starting down this course is you will be tempted to connect only with people that you know. You are going to want to look at your current base of relationships and go back where you are comfortable. And my recommendation for you is to really think outside and identify all of those new partnerships. And part of the full pipeline that Kathy has right now is due to new referral partners that came in that were very excited to introduce this new app within their client base. So she has a new partnership, and then she has these new relationships that are introducing her to these new opportunities. And if she would have stayed only in this relationship base that she was comfortable in, she would have missed out on all of these opportunities. Because the challenge, we have a tendency to create this list, and then we carry around this same list with us. So for example, I had another one of my clients that identified that he wanted to work with women business owners. So he identified a list of 25 women executives that he most wanted to interact with, and then he carried the list around. Now, he didn't carry the list of all 25 because remember, we don't want to make this too difficult. Remember one of those first slides that I told you about is we don't want too broad of an audience. We want to get very narrow and very specific. And what he would do is he would carry the list of 2 names with him to those meetings. He would give the general description of who he wanted to serve, and then he would provide they look like this person. And then what I want you to think about is, again, it's that general description that describes exactly who it is, and then identify those target prospects that you would like to engage with. And the more you can provide detail around what's happening in their life, and you can find out a lot of this through social media, that would help you a lot in terms of just narrowing it down and being able to speak to specifically where they would benefit from knowing you. The other thing is not having a strategy that is the underpinning of everything that we're talking about. So for example, the strategy should not just be meeting more people. The strategy needs to be the overarching, this is the impact that I'm looking to make, and this will be the approach that I incorporate in order to do this, so that you do not have a series of random tactics. Because the challenge that I think a lot of us face is We start down this path, and then we either gain traction immediately or we abandon ship before you've ever really given the approach the opportunity to season. So with that, this is not just about you reaching out to 2 people after we wrap up the call today. This needs to be about you committing to this as an approach and a strategy that you will integrate in your business. And that approach, you need to give a minimum of 90 days of devoted effort to it. This is not something that you're going to say, oh, I tried calling this one person and it didn't work, because that's normally what happens with us. The next is we don't follow up. And one of my favorite resources is on our call with us today. Brenda is with an organization called Send Out Cards. And they have created automated apps that allow you to create just incredible follow-up within, oh gosh, I think it's like 3 to 5 minutes to actually make a follow-up step with either a prospect or referral partner. But the follow-up, you need to think about it from the perspective of it's 8 to 22 interactions with that new contact or new relationship. And a referral partner is no different than a prospect, because actually a referral partner can be even more valuable to your business. So we need to treat them as such and be just as diligent in our follow-up strategy. And follow-up, well, I'm going to dig into that here in just a minute, because there's quite a little bit that's tied to follow-up. The other missed opportunity is leveraging your social proof base of relationships, which is your clients. They, if you're doing great work for them and having a positive impact, are delighted to share their experience in working with you with the people that they know. And many times we're not leveraging them appropriately. So the first place that we want to start with all of our referral prospecting is focusing on those clients. Think about, tell me what happens in your base of relationships or your book of business. More is it probably a better term. What happens to your book of business when you duplicate each one of your best clients? And I'm going to stop here for just a second because I want to hear from you. So if each one of your best clients introduced you to another client that looked just like them, what would that do for you? How much of an increase or impact would that have on your current prospecting effort? Would it be a little or a lot? And I want to hear from everybody right now on this one. It could be huge. Yes. For a lot of people, it can be. So I want to hear from everybody. Chime in, because this is really important. Because this is the first place that I think we've all fall down. We have a tendency to overlook. It's kind of like the way that I look at this, it's like you are under this apple tree and you get the ladders and you get a crane, and everything that you do is going for the top of the tree, where you have to have a ladder and you could potentially fall off the ladder, and you have to have a crane or equipment. So you've got all of these things that you have to do before you can get there, when actually underneath the tree is probably bushels and bushels and bushels of fruit that are just waiting there to be picked up, that have already fallen. That's what your client referrals are. They are sitting there underneath the tree, and many people just don't even pick them up. So I want you to think about social proof is the very first place that you want to begin with your prospecting effort. All right, now let's talk about onboarding these new relationships. So when you have a new referral partner and you begin to form that relationship, it is so important that you recognize that that same process of building trust, expertise, and authority takes place with that partner. Because, I don't know, has anybody ever made an introduction that didn't go well? Can you raise your hand? Let me know if you've ever done that. If you've made an introduction and either the prospect wasn't served, follow-up didn't happen, um, maybe they did follow up and they didn't treat the client the way that you thought they should, or even worse, maybe they just didn't do the work. Has anybody ever had that happen? A bad introduction? I'm going to let you know I have. I've made introductions that did not go well. They were, for lack of a better term, train wrecks. And I, had to stop and think before I made introductions again, because sometimes when those introductions happen and they don't go well, we have a tendency to step back and say, this process isn't going to work for me because of that one bad apple. Here we are with, well, and that's a really good point. So somebody brought out, sometimes it's they make an introduction and the client didn't do the right thing. And I know that happens. Boy, does it ever. I have unfortunately been present and accounted for at 2 lawsuits that I got to serve as witness for that exact situation, and it is not fun. So with that, it makes me be very cautious about bringing in new referral partnerships and how I'm going to introduce them. So in a lot of cases, my initial conversations are more along the lines of gaining clarity around exactly where we can refer, and then gaining trust that those relationships will be well served when an introduction is made. So that follow-up, there is an onboarding process that takes about 90 days with a new referral partner. And the way that I work with clients, within 90 days, you invest a lot of effort and a lot of your influence with that relationship and time really learning about who they are and what they do. And then the end result of that is by 90 days, you normally have a relationship that is producing revenue, or you see a very clear path together where, much like Kathy, you see a joint venture that's there that will be profitable for your business, and you are confident taking the next steps in order to advance and grow. So you think about it as, we all like to test and experiment. And then from that test and experiment, we expand from there. And we start to test each other out. And I call it field trips that we take through one another's services. These are some important elements for you to incorporate into your prospecting strategy with referral partners. So this follow-up process, there is quite a bit to it. But if you think about it, so great referral partnerships, such as the example I gave of Kathy and what many of my other clients experience, they gain introductions to their ideal prospects at the pace of about 1 or 2 per month that are highly qualified, very engaged prospects that are definitely the right person at the right time for the right reason. So what would that do for you in your business? If you had a relationship that was able to serve up that volume of opportunity, would that exceed what your best client does for you? Particularly if you were closing 50% or more of those. My best referral partners, I close about 75 to 85% of introductions that they tee me up to. And the rest end up in my funnel and normally close at a later time. To Brenda's point, when timing is better for them or when timing is right. So there is a reason why you would invest this effort in a referral partnership. That's one message that I want to make abundantly clear. It takes time, it takes effort, but there are very clear benefits to doing this. So now the best path moving forward in order to serve these fantastic new relationships, we want to get started, and my recommendation is always to start with baby steps. So the first thing is you need to really understand your client base. Survey them for insight. And your client base can teach you a lot, but remember, your referral partners, or not referral partners, your deals lost have just as much to teach you as your deals won about who you would want to align with as a potential partner. My next question that I have for you is, are you crystal clear on just how many referrals are needed and to what type of prospects in order for you to have an amazing fourth quarter? Because the joy of and the benefit of referral prospecting is it can introduce you to prospects that are ready to pull the trigger now and do business with you. You don't end up having to chase them and have this drawn out timeline until they're ready to work with you. So what I want you to think about are the exact prospects and what is happening in their life that creates so much urgency that they have to have you now. That's what I want you to think about. And then how many of those referrals do you need? And if you would like a really quick, I've actually got a quick recording on this that I am happy to share with you. Do me a favor and send me a quick message and let me know. And I'll send you, it's basically, I think, a 5-minute mini training on how to assess how many referrals you need and also narrowing that down so you can get super concrete with that activity plan. Because I'm talking very specific. And when you get down to this level of specificity, then that will really help you with knowing how many relationships you're going to need to add in order to reach those goals. Then I want you to really be digging into that pipeline of deals that maybe have stalled out or you have lost. And I want you to identify who those relationships are that will really help you with just getting to that next step or being able to provide a resource that would, again, create urgency or maybe help quantify the value of the work you can do later, or maybe even just add an additional revenue stream for you right now. So I want you to be identifying those gaps. And then I want you to start looking for partners. And the best place to find partners is within your client base and within your existing contacts. But remember, I don't want you to make the mistake of going with new or with old relationships that you're comfortable. So don't just stick with people that you've known for years. I want you to expand into new territory with this. And feel free to message me on LinkedIn with any of these relationships that you feel would be helpful for you. So for example, much as we started the call out today, or before we started the call, we did a little bit of networking. There are several of these professionals that can do amazing work that may be able to open doors for you or help you with your current pipeline and keeping deal flow moving. And I am delighted to network and help you connect to people who do great work and take great care of your clients. And also have a great client base to refer you to as well, potentially. Once you identify that there are these partnerships, then we want to begin determining out of those partnerships who can provide access and who can actually have sufficient influence over your prospect in order to advance your opportunities. Remember that influence is not only a state of being, it's also a state of doing. And we want to make sure that we are identifying those partnerships that are going to have some sway over the prospect's desire to work with you and that can ideally create urgency. And that's the process that I really, like I said, there's a lot of what we're talking about today that I'm going through kind of fast. Just know that this is what I can cover in depth for you, and it's covered in my prospecting program. So if you want to take this farther, I am delighted to support you with any of these steps. Then when you look at building partnerships, you want to make sure that you recognize that there are so many avenues to create partnerships. There can be everything from joint ventures to strategic alliances to lead sharing. And you may start out at one level and evolve to another. So recognize that this is truly an evolution that you do want to take the time with in order to advance the opportunity. And then once you have that partnership, you need to go to work, roll up your sleeves, start doing all of this work that we've talked about in the earlier stages of this slide, and identify what compelling need do your clients have right now that you have a relationship and you need to create an offer, and then promote the offer in order to engage that prospect and get them moving in your funnel. Because this is certainly it is an active effort that we have with our referral relationships. This is not just a passive, hey, I'm going to meet you once for coffee and then we're going to hope that business happens. This is an investment of time where you're basically going to be onboarding and treating your referral partners like free salespeople that are working for you and have the potential to do incredible things in your business. So it's important that you do be diligent and thoughtful in how you are going to apply this approach with your own prospecting effort. And how I can help is I teach a program that walks you through how to create amazing and incredible referral partnerships, taking each of the strategies that have been outlined today down to the very tactical level and helping you create an entire path from working with your client relationships all the way through your existing referral partnerships. Now, I have given you a ton of information today, and I am hopeful that much of this information is going to send you back to your relationship base to get very specific and targeted with what you will focus on in your own prospecting effort. But I am here to help. And I teach a class called Productive Prospecting. So if you really want to dive in and focus on this in your business, and you want to talk about what it would look like for you, just what I'd like for you to do is you've got my email, shoot me a quick message and let me know, let's schedule a virtual cup of coffee, because I want to make sure that this would be the right fit for you. And also, I would welcome the opportunity to connect with you also to determine if potentially some of the relationships that are within my client base might be good referral partners for you. Because you can truly accomplish a lot when you leverage the resources and relationships that are immediately surrounding you. I want to say thank you so much for taking time with me today. And I'm going to wrap up our recording. Remember, if you're on the call live, we can hang out for a few minutes because I want to hear about how you will incorporate this or what potential relationships or resources you might need in order to put this to work for you in your business. Remember, you can get anything you want in the world as long as you help enough other people get what they want. Have a great day, and I wish you all good selling.